is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Welcome to the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast. This week, it's Jasper Miners. James is stuck somewhere between England and Scotland on a motorway, and I've had to jump on with Ollie Wilson. So welcome, Ollie. Sorry you got the short straw this week, but you'll have to put up with me instead of James.
It's always good to chat, Jasper. Looking forward to it.
So we've just finished the BMW Championship at Wentworth. Obviously, stateside, no real particular massive tournaments of note, but it's all eyes towards the Ryder Cup. Now, perhaps what we'll do is we'll put that to one side. We want to catch up a little bit with you, know what you're up to now, see how you're doing, what you've got planned, but then we'll get into the Ryder Cup fully as we look forward to this preview from an individual who's been there and done it. We'll get to that. So we know that you English born and bred, that's right?
That is correct. From Mansfield, Nottinghamshire, right in the middle of the country.
Very good. And home golf club from that part of the world?
Yeah, so my home course is Coxmoor Golf Club, which is a lovely heathland course. It's actually a lovely area. We've got Coxmoor, Hollingwell and Sherwood. Hollingwell's obviously quite well known now. Done a fantastic job over the years of updating the course and staying with the times. So I kind of feel like they're all my home course. My family play at Sherwood. My mum still plays at Coxmoor. I'm there a little bit when I can get chance. And Hollingwell, I've had so many good times there. I kind of feel that corner of the world is my home.
I think Coxmoor is, well, it's either an English top 100 contender or has just snuck in. So yeah, very good golf course nonetheless. So good shout out for them.
Now, yeah, and they've done a nice renovation job recently as well. So they're definitely moving with the times too, and it's been fantastic this summer.
Excellent. So you've had a bit of play recently. Let's go back a little bit to your playing career just to refresh everybody's memories. Highest ranking on world ranking. Do you know what you got
33. 33.
33.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty impressive. 33. That's
it was great. I look back on it now and go, I'm delighted with it. It feels a long way away now. I'd love to get back and try and push on a bit further than that, but I was in the top 50 for 2.5 years, which was great. It opens a lot of doors. It gives you flexibility in your schedule, playing against the best players in the world on the best courses. I look back on those times and maybe didn't appreciate it as much as I should have done when I was there. You're always pushing, you're always in the moment of trying to get better, try and get into the top 25, top 20 and win tournaments. And whilst that's absolutely right, maybe I could have enjoyed that time a little bit more as well.
So, I mean, talking about tour wins, though, I mean, two things. So, top 50 is really big for getting entry into the big tournaments, but at least it was then, I think, that kind of stamped your ticket to get into the major championships. And it's amazing to me. Sometimes you look at like well-known household name golfers, and even then, they don't necessarily get to play in all of the majors.
I played a couple of Masters, which was awesome for me because I went to college in Augusta. So I used to actually live during my time in an apartment about, I don't know, like 70 yards behind the 13th green, which you would never imagine there was any buildings back there, but there was an apartment complex back there and Rays Creek ran through it. So it was a pretty special place to go to college. When I first went out there, I assumed going out to Augusta was going to be playing at Augusta National weekly. I found out pretty quickly that wasn't the case, but we were based at Forest Hills just down the road, and it was a special time for me there. It was by far the best time in my golfing life for developing, being competitive, and just having my eyes open to the world and what's possible. So it was pretty good. So to get back and play a couple of Masters was a really nice achievement for me. I wish I'd have done a bit better. I didn't really play that well when I got there, unfortunately, but still nice to have been there.
So Masters 2009, 2010. U.S. Opens. That was your first major championship, and I've got you down for 4 of those. So 206, 8, 9, and 10.
Yes, I think
Open
that's right.
championships. You've had quite a run there. I mean, Open championships 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you had a bit of a resurgence there. 2018. It looks like you had another one in.
Yeah, Carnoustie was fun in 2018, but I actually got injured on the Thursday, so I wasn't. My neck was locked up, so that was disappointing because I was playing really well that week. But yeah, Open Champions are amazing, and it was interesting having the gap between there from 2010 maybe to 18, wherever that was. Watching the difference in the just like the infrastructure of the Open and how much it's grown in that time was incredible to me. It was really eye-opening, but amazing to be part of those tournaments. And when you're out of them, you kind of tell yourself, "Oh, it's not that big a deal. I'll concentrate on my schedule, and it gives me a week off." But as soon as you get back into those majors, it's like, what are you thinking? This is where you got to be. You got
This
the
is
eyes, the eyes of the world are there. The best players in the world are there. It's just a special place to be able to spend your time and compete. It's very very cool, and I miss those times. I'm still obviously trying to get back to as many as I can, but um, it's definitely where you want to be.
yeah, 7 Open championships. So out of the courses you played on the Open Road, which course stole your heart? Which one do you walk away from and you think actually that is a proper golf course?
Oh, Turnberry, without a question.
Really?
Yeah, Turnberry for me was. I mean, they're all fantastic in their own right. They're all a little different. St Andrews was obviously very special for different reasons, but in terms of like actual golf course, for me, Turnberry is the one that makes you stand up and hit the shots more so. Uh, you have to take on fairway bunkers. It's just real links golf. It's not like, right, I'm going to plot my way around and miss these bunkers. You have to take them on. Like, you have to hit driver a lot of the time. Again, depending on how the course is playing, but to me, that's just a proper test. And I haven't been back since it's been redone. And there's not many places you go to that go through a big renovation and everybody that goes and plays it comes away going, wow, it's even better. Um,
Yeah.
and I have never spoken. I've spoken to so many people about Turnberry that have been since it's been redone, and every one of them is blown away by how much better it was, and they all agree it was amazing before. So it's definitely one place I want to get back to and experience.
Yeah, so I was up there just 2 weeks ago. So went up because Ebert's just done new holes really on 7 and 8. So now from like 4 all the way pretty much through till 12, you're right on that coastline all the way out.
Yeah,
And
just
then for the
maximizing
first
that
few of those,
coastline, right?
it's amazing. It's a really good stretch of golf along there. The views are spectacular, and obviously having like that sentinel of the lighthouse as you play that like few holes on the front nine, you kind of from the very beginning you're kind of looking at the lighthouse because even at the end of the range now, where you hit your balls out to on the range, you're hitting them towards the lighthouse. That's kind of where you're aiming. So
Right.
from the time
Yeah.
you get to the first tee, you're winding your way around, knowing that somehow I'm going to get over there. So I've been a handful of times now. I think I've played it 3 times, and yeah, very enjoyable golf course to play. And I can understand why better golfers like it so much. I think the fairways aren't as rambunctious as a lot of the other fairways on a lot of the other links courses. So maybe you do
Yeah.
get a little bit more rewarded for quote unquote good shots. A fairer golf course, maybe the same
Yeah.
same
Probably
vein as maybe a
a little
Birkdale.
bit fairer. Yeah, exactly. I think there's an element to that. It just felt like, yeah, you were rewarded for good shots, but you had to hit a lot of them. Like, you just
Yeah,
had to, when the wind was up, and that was in '09. So I've only played it that one tournament week, and I have a lot of memories from that week. Funny enough, most of the strongest ones are not of me playing. It was watching, um, watching coming down the stretch. There's a few shots that I remember hitting that I was like, yeah, that kind of left an imprinted memory of why I loved the golf course, because you had to hit these certain tee shots in tough winds. But
yeah.
my best memories of that week was watching Westwood coming down the stretch, trying to get his Open Championship. Made a couple of mistakes coming down the stretch, but then that bunker shot he hit out of the 18th fairway bunker was so underrated. It's like one of the best golf shots I've ever seen in world golf. Like, people don't understand how deep that bunker is. To be able to hit that shot and get it on the green was just amazing. But I was
I
gutted
think
for him; he didn't get over the line.
yeah, it's one of those ones. We don't want to go into that. Best golf course or best golfer never to win a major. There's enough of those conversations. We don't need to do that now. But thinking about that, is there any memorable rounds like where you've played with a golfer and you're like, this is like core memory, like just being on the same tee. Um, for you've been around greatness, obviously with the Ryder Cup team, both the US playing against and then playing with on Europe. When you think back to like that, I mean, that's like a top three game that I've had. Is there anyone that sticks
Well,
out just out of
the
interest?
the one memory that is probably out of the majors, which I always there's a little bit of jealousy there as well. But at Torrey Pines in '09, so I was playing the group ahead of Tiger, Mickelson, Adam Scott, and I think it was the first time that they'd gone with the pairings of being like 1, 2, 3 in the world, and I think maybe like the top 10 or 15 were all ranking order. So that was the group behind me. So it's just mayhem from from Thursday's first tee shot through the weekend. But I was playing really well, and I was leading after about, I don't know, maybe 28, 29 holes, 30 holes, something like that. I made a double somewhere, and Tiger obviously carried on plodding around. So we were tied on Friday night. We came in, we were late on in the draw, and I'd been it was slow because there's big crowds everywhere. And so I was watching, or we were all watching Tiger and Phil and Scotty hitting into the greens behind us, which was really nice to be able to do. Um, but when I got in, I realized I'm on the same score as Tiger, and I was so excited. So I've gone in the scores, so I'm on the computer adding it up. Like, well, there's no way I can miss him. I've got to be playing with him on
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday. And when the draw came out, I think it was Robert Carlson that got with him, and I'm still to this day, I'm like, there's no way that I don't know how that's happened. Like, it could not have happened. I'm sure they switched it around. So I was absolutely devastated to miss out playing with him in that tournament as well. When I look back and to see how historical that tournament was, but that kind of, I wasn't playing with them, but I watched them a lot, and it was very cool to be there, and um, to watch him win that in that way was pretty special. So that's definitely one of them. I also remember playing with Stricker when he was going through a real hot patch. I think up in Winged Foot maybe. Um, and he was brilliant. I think he led after 36 holes, and it was just a flawless display of just executing shot after shot. Um, that was pretty cool. That stood out. But yeah, I mean, you play with so many great players in majors and outside of the majors. It's hard to remember each experience, but those are the ones that stand out the most for me at the moment, I think.
It's an amazing thing to me because as a rank amateur golfer who is a massive fan of the game, grew up in like Tiger Mania. Um, yeah, he's he's such a titan of the game. Like he almost transcends it. Like as big as like Scotty Scheffler is now and Tiger Woods and all the household names that we all know. Um, it's like Tiger just somehow still reached like another level
Yeah,
that like who knows we'll ever get to again. And maybe that was just I sometimes say this, like the advent of social media has been good in a lot of ways and terrible in a lot of other ways. But like back in the day, if you wanted to watch golf, like growing up, I had one channel, and anyone that was a golf fan had one channel. So you have this massive captive audience that is being fed like one diet of just Tiger.
yeah,
And like nowadays, you could have that on various streaming platforms. You could have on telly, you could have it on radio, you could have it on social media. And so, depending on what you want, you can kind of find your own little niche somewhere. But I think back then, like the early 2000s, late 90s, um, like there was this massive wave of momentum just because there was only one channel to find it all on.
that's true.
But yeah,
But can you imagine social media and if Tiger was playing and hitting the shots that he used to hit, like the recovery shots, the shots that stand out that we can all go back and go, oh, what about that shot, that shot? Imagine social media
absolutely.
now. I mean, it would be everywhere. Like people just
It's
being
true.
speechless about watching some of that stuff. And that's the difference
Well,
between
and
him and
that's the
Scotty. Scotty doesn't do that because he doesn't need to. Like
yeah. He just yeah.
he's flawless almost. It's incredible to watch. But two very different golfers, but both playing at a level that is certainly out of my reach. I wish it wasn't, but it's. I actually commentated with him on Scotty at the PGA at Quail Hollow, and then I walked inside the ropes at the Open for pretty much 72 holes of his golf, and was blown away by just the level of execution, distance control, emotional control, mental strength was just off the charts, and he made it look so easy. It was just like,
Easy.
this is what I do, and you can't see anyone beating him, and hence why he's on this streak that I don't even know if it is a streak. It's sort of turned into just the norm.
Yeah,
So
it's what
it'll
you
be
expect.
interesting to see, how long that keeps going on for. But whatever he's doing, he just needs to keep doing it because it is a phenomenal display. When you look at the quality of players behind him, and he's making them look just very ordinary, and they're not ordinary. They're world class players that are playing incredible golf courses that are set up hard, and he's just knocking out 67s just like it's nothing. It's a special time for sure.
I think this is one of those things where, like, it's fine for me to be able to say, "Oh, like those guys are just so much better than us." And there's a lot of people that fool themselves into thinking that, I did really well at my scratch medal at my golf club locally, and I'm on a bit of a heater, so maybe I'll go for open qualifying and see how we get on. And then you talk to someone who is like basically been in the top 50 in the world for years, and then gets front row seats to just this exhibition of greatness, and you have them saying like that's just a level of golf that I
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, like you see all these golf courses and how they are at any given time during the year. But I think I was having a conversation with a friend this week about there's going to be an exhibition match in a golf course in Worthing with Marco Penge and a couple of the
Mhm.
good amateurs, and the club members are thinking, the amateurs are going to have a really good chance. I'm like, guys, there's only the only chance of them having a chance of being close is if Marco's ill or is just not into it, and he's not trying because
Yeah.
it just might not motivate him. But that kind of stuff doesn't motivate people a lot of the time when they're reaching such high levels. But in pro golf, there's so many layers on top. You can go to a pretty good golf course, and amateurs could have a decent round and feel like, oh, I shot 73, 74. But it's like if you go to a tour event and play on the Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday in practice, the tees are kind of normal. The greens and the course is a little bit softer. The pins are in the middle of the green, and you go out and you shoot a nice score. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see birdies here. But then when a tournament setup happens, and as the week goes on, the greens get firmer. The tees are tucked to positions that make the holes play a little tougher, maybe slightly different angles. They might even move a tee up, but you've not, it's a completely different angle. You've got to be able to adjust right there and then.
Hmm.
But the firmness of the greens, the speed of the greens, and the fact that the pins are tucked just over ridges, they're tucked on the corner, and suddenly you've gone from aiming at a flag that's in the middle of the green and there's a bit of leeway on both sides to a flag tucked front left with water on the left or a big slope that's dead. And you have to be able to execute that shot in a left to right wind or into the wind. Like, it's just this layer upon layer upon layer. And then you have to keep executing it hole after hole for 18 holes, for 72 holes in a row, and dealing with all this other stuff of the travel, and all the outside influences and the variables. Like, it looks so easy, and that's what's, as obviously as a player watching someone like Scotty, I came away sort of inspired because he made it look so easy. I'm like, well, all I've got to do is this, which is kind of what I do. But he made it look so easy. It's like, well, it has to be attainable. Um, but then you go and practice and you go back to the next tournament and you don't shoot those scores. It's like, it is pretty tough. But the way he and many of the top guys are going about it, they're just reaching a level that is incredible. And more people, the level of golfers coming through from college golfers, you look at them now and they've had 4 years in college, or even five, some of them, where they are training just like a tour pro, but they don't have all the outside variables to have to deal with that pulls them away from that. Their coach is managing the travel,
Yeah.
managing the coaching coming in, the workload, the training load. So all they do is just turn up to the gym, they turn up to practice, and it's all laid out for them. It builds brilliant habits and routines. And once you do that for 4 years, and then you kind of go out on your own and you have your team, and it might not be the same team that you had in college because of funds, etc. But it just changes. And you see that coming through. And I think that's, Scott is sort of the first one maybe that's come through that program where the level of coaching and technology in the coaching system was there. Like certainly when I was in college, we didn't have that level of information. Now they have everything, and it's incredible to watch the younger guys coming through. That they're ready to go. Kind of digressing
Yeah.
there a little bit, but it's
No,
just
no.
funny how it all kind of leads into Scotty Scheffler being the number one in the world, reaching this level that is incredible and sort of awe-inspiring to watch.
This episode is brought to you by the Lockhart Travel Club. We believe golf is more than a game. It's a journey we've made across 34 of the world's top 100 courses last year, and now is your turn. We curate bespoke travel experiences for passionate golfers who expect nothing but the best. Membership is limited, so join us at lockharttravelclub.com.
Well, let's pick up on that. So we talked about this layering. So you go from like local club level county golf to national open championships to college golf, PGA tour events, majors. But the stage at the Ryder Cup is it's like nothing else. So you were a seasoned professional when you played in the Ryder Cup. It was 2008. So you went in as a Ryder Cup rookie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the who's who. I mean, this is like almost the golden age of. I mean, we're still kind of in it with the European team, aren't we? But I mean, you had Harrington, Garcia, Westwood, Stenson, Jimenez, McDowell, Rose, Hansen, Poulter, Casey, and Carlson. Like, I mean, those are staples of the European team for many many years. Now, um, didn't come out as victorious in the end as a team, but just give us an idea of you talked about playing in the majors. Is it just a different level again beyond the majors when you get to a Ryder Cup?
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost like a layer to the side because it's a completely different animal. Like it's not an individual thing at all. And I always feel like for me, when I qualified, I was one of the younger. I was probably the youngest on the team, I think. And I knew I had to qualify to get on the team. I was never getting a pick, which is understandable. I think it was my fourth year as a pro, so still kind of played a few majors, but not a lot. Hadn't had a lot of experience in the US outside of college, and a few majors. Um, but the level is different just because of the intensity, and you have to. It's definitely a week where you need to be feeling good about your game. Like if you go into it struggling, if you're one of the players that has qualified early and then kind of struggled, and you go in and you might have lost some form, it's a
Mhm.
really hard place to go to. Fortunately, I wasn't in that position, and I played well, and I qualified at the end strong, built a lot of confidence, um, and so it was something. It was more mental than anything, just getting to understand what it was going to be like, especially on American soil. The intensity, the amount of eyeballs on you in person, on TV, like you realize, and but kind of back to what I was saying about the how the Open had grown so much in that space of time. The Ryder Cup was like even bigger. Like there was so much um, interest in it from a global perspective. Um, so it's a completely different layer, but you have to be able to break that down to go, well, yes, this is the sort of outside looking in aspect, but I need to be able to pull back and just go, look, it's golf. We've got to just execute one shot at a time. And that's what we do as golfers. We have to learn to be able to do that in whatever environment, whatever level of tournament it is. But for me to qualify on that team of the sort of the European legends was pretty special because I'd grown up watching half of the team on the European tour as a kid. And it was like you said, it was just a staple thing to see Jimenez and Westy and Harrington in contention, winning tournaments. So to get on a team with them was really special. And Westwood obviously is from Nottingham as well, so he's from half an hour away. He was somebody had been a role model for years. I caddied for him actually when I was 10. He was the
Really?
county yeah, he was the county captain, and I was the on the junior team. I was number 1, so I got to caddy for him, and he was brilliant. Gave him a dodgy club. He listened to me. I gave him a dodgy club, and then I'd lost my privileges after that. But it's always fun to look back on that, and there's been a connection there. And he was one of the players that reached out straight away to congratulate me and give me a bit of a heads up of what to expect, and basically like, what are you thinking it's going to be like? Well, multiply it by 10. And so that's kind of what I did. I like thinking about the first tee shot. How intense could this first tee shot be? And so I kept building it up into something that I could only kind of dream of. And then when I got there, it actually worked. Like I felt pretty comfortable, but the energy was insane. Like the hairs on your arms are stood up. There's so much nervous energy, but it's just like pure excitement. And definitely it's where you want to be as a professional golfer. Like it is the ultimate. But
So
I
let's
was
get
very
into that a little
fortunate.
bit. So like
Yeah,
on a Friday, so the captain of your team basically
Faldo.
comes to you and says, so Faldo comes to you and says, right, we're not putting you out Friday. Is there almost like despite the fact that you're like, I'm here, I want to be part of it, I'm showing good form, like let me at them. Is there a side of you where you're kind of like, oh, good?
Oh, oh, yeah, no, oh, no, no, not like what that being pleased does not get in.
Yeah,
No,
he's like,
well, it
look,
wasn't for
we're gonna
me.
play you.
I was
No,
gutted. Yeah, I
okay.
was gutted. But I guess that again, it goes to the point of like where you are with your game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I was a rookie, and there's so much experience on that team. You kind of expect, okay, I'm probably not going to go out first thing, Friday morning in the foursomes.
Friday morning.
Um,
Yeah.
but you kind of hope, well, maybe. um, but it didn't happen. So I actually sat out all of Friday, which I was gutted about. Yeah, but it's a team, and you kind of understand. And I was kind of getting the vibe that I probably wouldn't play Saturday morning either.
Really?
But
Okay.
yeah, just there was a lot of experience. Um, Faldo probably didn't have quite as much belief in me as I had in myself. Um, but I was very fortunate in that Henrik Stenson, me and Henrik had the same coach at the time, knew each other well. Henrik had played with Paul Casey on the Friday, and their games didn't really match. Like strategically,
Okay.
how they see it didn't really match. It wasn't a great pairing. Um, and so Henrik actually reached out to Faldo and said, "Look, I want to play with Ollie Friday morning. We'll get the job done." So he told me that, and we went in. So I'm like, I'm so excited. Um, and
So
we've got this big
Saturday,
plan.
so Saturday
Yeah,
morning foursomes, just to set up the scene. Saturday morning foursomes, you and Stenson are taking on Phil Mickelson and Anthony Kim.
yeah. So at Valhalla, the clubhouse is on top of the hill. You walk out, and all you can hear is noise and chanting. And you walk down to the range, and now you're halfway between the clubhouse and the first tee, and it's getting louder, and there's more people. Then you go down a bit further to putting green, and then you get to the first tee, which is just insane. And that is my first tee shot. And Henrik's said, we've gone through the course. I'm going to be hitting the first tee shot, so I'm pumped. Like you can't, in my opinion, you can't shy away from that. Like that is one of the best things to be able to say you've done in golf. But then you get on the tee and you're like, oh, okay, I understand.
Careful what you ask for.
But then I almost feel like it's such an intense thing. And if you look at it over the years, you think back to some of the tee shots at Glen Eagles. It's like, well, actually, it doesn't matter where I hit this because people are so used to seeing bad shots and sending it all over the place. It's like, actually, there's not much pressure on here. So I could just hit it. It's kind of how I thought it. And I flushed this thing down the middle. Like I couldn't have hit a better tee shot, which felt pretty good at the time. Um, After that, we were 4 down through 6. So it was like, oh no, like this is not, Henrik's kind of vouched for me. We were playing nicely. We were level through 6, and they were 4 under in foursomes around Valhalla. So it's not like we'd done anything wrong, but they got
No.
off to a hot start, and we were going down I think it was the 7th fairway, maybe the par 5. And we were like, okay, we need to rethink this. And we kind of made a plan. Like, look, Mickelson's amazing, but he is going to hit one or two dodgy shots. And in foursomes, that's probably going to end up in a bogey. So if we win those holes and we make 2 other birdies, that gets us to level. And then we just got to hope they don't make any more. So we can get back in this. And we did it. We birdied the par 5s. We made a couple of other birdies, I think, and we didn't make any. I don't think we dropped any shots. And come on to the 17th green, and had about a 25-footer up the hill. I'd not holed anything all day. We'd had loads of chances, not hold anything. And this uphill left to right 25-footer, about a foot of break on, and I hit it, and it was in all the way. And as it's gone in,
You could just see it.
I've gone mental. And as it's gone in, I've looked up to celebrate, and I've looked straight at Mickelson in the eyes, like completely by accident. And he was like a bit shell shocked. I don't think he could believe I'd hold it. And they'd obviously gone from being 4 up to losing. I'll always remember that. And then just celebrating with everybody on the green was pretty special. But it's
that was
like,
interesting because you guys took that morning session, so 2.5 points to 1.5 points. So that was like part of the pushback, really, because you were a bit behind after the opening day.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the overall score, I think we lose by 4 in the end?
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, you weren't far off, really.
But we were. It was.
Yeah,
It looks on
5.
paper that we actually 5. It looks on paper that we got hammered. But actually, there was a time in the Sunday afternoon in the singles that it was really tight. Like, it was actually on. And then I think they I guess they just pipped us to the line, and then the games after that kind of flipped, and we ended up losing those games, I think, is how it worked out. But it was a shame. I felt like we just basically got the pairings wrong the first day. If we'd have got those pairings a little different, I feel like we would have had a better chance. But that's kind of part of it. You don't know for sure. At the end of the day, you got to play good golf. Doesn't matter the pairings, but it can help. But just going back to like the Stenson thing, like, for me, I feel like the reason that the level of golf in the Ryder Cup is so high, and you don't see that level of golf that much outside of the Ryder Cup. Especially, I think back to like that Rory and Reed stretch was just phenomenal. But like, that stuff generally doesn't happen. But the Ryder Cup, in the pairings, the foursomes and the four balls, you have a partner that is, probably top 20 in the world. You have such confidence and belief in your partner. It almost takes a bit of pressure off you, but you're both thinking the same thing.
Same thing.
You're feeling so good, and you've got a team behind you who's got major champions in, and you've been watching win points in the Ryder Cup, win tournaments all over the world for years. You feel like, even though the other team is incredible, like, you feel like you're surrounded by heroes, and they'll get the job done anyway. So it almost takes a bit of pressure off you. You obviously got to perform, but that's to me what makes it so special. You have this camaraderie with all your players and your friends and people you're competing against week in, week out, but you also have such respect for them and know how good they are. I think it just helps reach this another level, which is so much fun. Yeah,
and that's always a question I've absolutely. That's always a question I've had, is like how it seems like on the biggest stages, the biggest and the best come to shine. But it must just be that rising tide that you find a way to ride it as opposed to get sunk by it.
I think so. Yeah. And again, that kind of goes back to my point of, if you're low on confidence a little bit heading into it, I think it can be hard, but you can also use that. But like, when you look at the say, for instance, a European team going to America. So when I was in Valhalla, there was such noise, and obviously I played against Boo in the singles, which was really cool.
I was gonna. Was that the time when he would? Did he ride his golf club? Was that the time?
Yeah, that was me. When he famously rode his driver off the first tee. I didn't even know until I got home on the Monday, and everyone was giving him some grief about it. And I looked it up on video and on TV, and was like, all right, like, but he's a great guy. He was just having fun. Kentucky Derby and all that. So Yeah, but there was a lot of people obviously booing, and it was just noise, and they're not necessarily being. It's not a lot of it is personal against you. They're just pulling for their player, which is fine, and you can feed off that because it's just noise and energy. I do worry about this one at Bethpage because that is going to get personal, and
So I was going to ask you about
the
that.
noise will be so much more intense than it's been ever. So I
And
do worry
do you
about
think
that.
is it a New York thing? Because look, New Yorkers have a reputation. They've got a reputation for being vocal at the best of times, and it's not something that they shy away from. I don't think there'll be a lot of golf claps at the Ryder Cup in New York at Bethpage, um, but I heard Rory was talking about it, I believe, and he was talking about um, the fact that you should be able to try and challenge it. And I think he was speaking about Djokovic. It's like playing against, say, Nadal or Federer, where in those moments you kind of know that the crowd's not going to be on your side because you're not the favorite. But then that's also what he used as like basically motivation or fuel to kind of get it across the line. The interesting thing about that, though, is there a tipping point where people can just be so vulgar, intense, spiteful that they are
Well,
trying to
yeah,
cross a line just to get you off your game?
I think it's a combination. I think it's a bit of be careful what you wish for. We've been trying to grow the game for this sort of grow the game vibe for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But what's special about the golf fans in general is they know that line, and you can pull against somebody all you want, and that's totally fine. And the players will use that to feed off on either side. They'll use that energy. But we've been trying to bring people from outside of golf into golf. We have
Yeah.
tournaments like the Waste Management in Phoenix. We've seen some of the live stuff where they are encouraging this almost football mentality in the crowds. And then you
Mm-hmm.
throw in the New York crowd, which are, as you said, renowned for being um,
Brash.
let's go with brash. And then you also the social media aspect of where people like getting on camera and being shown to do stuff that's a bit different and standing out. I think you bring that all together in the Ryder Cup in the Northeast. I don't see how any way it doesn't go over the line. I hope it doesn't, but
Mm-hmm.
I just think it will get personal. There'll be people shouting on people's backswing, and that's when it's too much. Like that's not fair, not right at all. The only good thing is generally there'll be so much noise that I feel like you might not get the silence that you normally would get in golf. It might be just more of an ongoing noise, which is actually probably better because there's no
Yeah.
sudden shouting or anything or movements like that. So, I'm hopeful that it'll be okay, but I'm excited to be inside the ropes. I'm going to be commentating that week, so I'll be inside the ropes and won't be getting any grief myself. But to experience it and see what it's going to be like will be fascinating. But I do worry that it's going to cross the line. But hopefully, there's enough golf fans there that are in it for just to be enjoying that atmosphere. And obviously, the ticket prices are pretty high. That tends to help a little bit, but at the same time, American ticket prices are extortionate anyway, so maybe not. But
Yeah. And there's
we'll
so
see.
much
There's a
money
lot. There's a
both
lot
in
of things
America.
going into it.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I mean, I can't wait. My wife is she is a golfer, but she's not like diehard. But honestly, every time the Ryder Cup's on, she was like, "Right, when is the Ryder Cup this year? We're not going anywhere, or we're going to go somewhere and we're just going to watch that." And she's not. She just loves the box office element of it because it
Yeah.
always produces. So let's get into it. One question I wanted to ask: you talked about Faldo maybe not getting. Obviously, as things have progressed and moved on, Luke Donald got like his praises were sung with basically leaving no rock unturned. Now, is that actually a thing, or is it? I just find it hard with the scale of the tournament, the enormity of it. Um, it would seem like it would be impossible to be a captain of the Ryder Cup, have 2 years to plan for it, and not look at every eventuality. Or are there just some captains who are like, "Well, boys, we'll do the pairings on Thursday night. And we'll see how we get on." Um, where he seems like he's taking a different approach. I don't know. Maybe if you Faldo's
Well,
way of doing things to Luke's, I'm not sure if you have that insight, but or how much you want to say.
um, I would say there's quite a bit of difference between the '08 approach. I mean, if you think about the previous Ryder Cups to mine in 2008, there was this kind of building of a plan of how we can, check off everything, make sure we're as prepared as possible, and it had been working. Um, and that goes from pairings, statistics started to come into it. A whole aspect of stuff is chatting to the players beforehand to understand, well, which players do they really like? Who do they want to play with? Who do they not feel like they're the right pairings to be with? And figuring that out beforehand, all basic stuff, really. It's not like rocket science. And we were building something within the European team, and when Faldo did it, he kind of went away from that. I think he wanted to do it more his own way and was much more
Hmm.
casual about that. But I think that's where almost like manpower comes in a little bit. There is a lot to do. There's obviously a massive team behind the captain to be able to action most of that. But when you look at how the pairing, I never had a conversation with Nick before the tournament to say who do I want to play with, who I don't want to play with, just stuff like that. What golf ball am I
Yeah,
using? What golf ball are they using? Like that doesn't work. That's not going to work if someone's using something other than my Callaway. Like it's something that one player's got to adjust to, which quite often they don't want to, and which is
yeah,
fine. So you look at that, how it was done then, and then you look since then, it was almost like a real wake up call to hang on, we were building this, we need to keep doing what we were doing. And they went all in. And McGinley was obviously the first one to kind of push even further and bring every aspect of it in. And Luke's just continued that trait with his own elements of being a former world number one, like an amazing player. He's
yeah,
brought everything that he's learned, all the experience of being on the teams. What do we need to look out for? What are there any young players that need to be, personality types? Like doing full on workups on sort of psychological profiles. Like, what does that player need to excel? What does he need to excel? Who fits and where? Like, so they've got their own opinions. Then they're going to interview and ask everybody how that all matches. And basically, they're getting out an answer at the end of it. Go, well, this is what the stats are saying, and everyone else is saying, and it all kind of lines up. And then there's backup plans, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. And then how do we set up the golf course? What do we need to be doing? What do we need to be working on for this golf course? What do the players need to be working on prior to get ready for Bethpage? What is Bethpage? What are the questions Bethpage is going to ask? But doing all that so the players don't even have to worry about it. It's just like, well, look, we'll talk it through. Yeah, great. And then also, like, going back to the personality profiling is, as a Rory, what does Rory need? He's our number one, like he's our stalwart. He needs to be leading the team out because that's where he thrives. If you put him in the middle of the pack, it's kind of the level he's achieved, it's kind of devaluing him a little bit. Now, it might be the best thing for the team, and if it is and it's sold that way, he'd be all over it. But at the same time, he knows he wants to be number one
he wants
because
the
he's the
bit in
number
his
one.
teeth.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's a lot of guys do on any team sport. It's almost like loads of people want to be QB, but they don't have the option because the best player is going to be the QB.
yeah.
So it's kind of that dynamic, understanding each player, making sure everything is ticked off, and even down to the families and the wives, make sure they're all looked after properly. You've got your whole team there. But again, back in the day, I can't remember exactly how long, but there was only you might only be able to bring your coach and you have your caddy and your coach. Nowadays, every player's got a team of 4, 5, 6 people. Well, they're all coming because you want that player to feel like whatever they need, whatever they would want, if they're going to turn up to the Open with a team or any major or any big tournament, well, they need to be at that same. The team need to be there for the Ryder Cup, physio, whatever it is. Um, and I just think that's what they've done. They've just gone into ultimate depth, certainly from a statistics point of view, from leading into picking the teams, really doing a
Hmm.
deep dive there. Obviously, you've got the qualifiers, but on from that, like who do we need? Like, if there's a player that's just on the outskirts, but his game just looks like it's tailor made for the court or the Bethpage for this year, then that player needs to be on the team. And then that becomes a balance between, all right, we've got to decide somebody who's sort of in those top 12 spots, or do we pick someone from outside of it? But there is a lot to go into it. But again, like you said, you've got 2 years to do it, and a whole team behind you. So it's just kind of putting those things in plan. Over the last decade or so, the European team have certainly been building something, and it's almost like, right, we'll pass this on to the next captain. Unfortunately for Luke, he was the previous one, so he's already got all that info, and they're just trying to make the same kind of system work for Bethpage with some tweaks, because obviously it's a different task, a different course, and different questions will be asked.
Right. So you knew this was coming. Early. So top. Well, who's going to take it? That's the easiest way to just come out and say it. Who? I don't even know. I think we've got a resident. We've got one of my mates is an odds maker for the bookies, and he would say that I think he said last time I spoke with him, which was last week, that the odds makers are putting it at a very slight advantage for the Americans. So not much in it at the moment. What's the word on the street from the players' side of things? How's everybody feeling about it?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's match play, so you can put all this planning into it, and if the guys just don't play that well, like, you lose. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite
Yeah.
demoralizing when you break it down like that, for all the work that goes into it. But at the same time, you can give better chances by doing all this stuff. I think the major thing is our team is very settled. They're very, very confident, and they're very used to being in America, which is all great signs for us. The US team is a great team. It's less intimidating on paper than it's probably been in a long time. Doesn't mean to say they're not great players, but actually being the intimidation factor is not quite there. But they've got the fans. They've got a course that most of them know. Although it's probably pretty even between knowing. I think the Europeans, obviously, they're on a trip right now. They've flown out there, and they're going to be out there the week before, just getting to know the course. So I have the European team winning by like a point. Like, it's going to be
Okay.
tight. I think it'll be so tight. It can go either way. I'd be highly surprised if it was a whitewash on any direction. But you've got to go with the home advantage in the Northeast. I mean, that would be a tough place to go. So my heart says to Europe, but my head also, I think I'm just going to edge it with the European team. But either way, it's going to be an awesome contest. I'm very much looking forward to it.
So if we want to listen to more of your dulcet tones, it's Radio 5 Alive. Is that the
5
one?
Live? Yeah, 5 Live, and it might be on 5 Live Extra. I'm not sure exactly the programming, but it will be there all week inside the ropes.
I'll be honest with you, this is my top tip. Sometimes, and this is nothing against the Sky broadcasters, but sometimes I will listen to Radio 5 and watch it on the telly. Sometimes it always doesn't match up, but there's definitely
there's a lot of people like to do that. The 5 Live team are fantastic. They're so good at it, just finding the right note, a little bit of humor in there, but the big moments they paint with such color. It's tremendous to listen to. Even when you're there in person, just to listen to Ian Carter describe it or something is fantastic. So they're a good team. I enjoy working with them.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to that. So, but we don't want to take too much of your time. Maybe what we could do is just end on a little bit. We'd like to know a little bit about what you're up to at the minute. Obviously, you're doing some commentary for BBC at big events like the Ryder Cup. But day to day, how much playing is getting done? And I think you've got some stuff on with. Is it True Linkswear? That's right.
True Linkswear, yeah. Yeah, I'm still playing. I lost my card last year after a broken ankle earlier in the season, which didn't help. But I ended up losing it, and I made the decision this year, with traveling so much, that I've got a young family. I was not going to play quite as much this year. I wasn't going to chase trying to get it back on the Challenge Tour. I was going to just kind of work on my game, try and, if I played well, then great. But if I didn't, I was going to just sort of focus on Q School at the end of the year. which is kind of where I'm at. So I've got I'm going to commentate the Ryder Cup. I'm going to go to the Dunhill after that because I'm exempt into there, and then it'll
Very
be
good.
Q School on both sides of the pond. So we'll go and see where that takes me. But my game's been decent, and we're still working away. But at the same time, I've partnered with True Linkswear in the UK, brought them over a couple of years ago. For the people that don't know, it's a golf shoe and apparel brand, but mainly golf shoes with very unique. The only golf shoe company that actually make a shoe that is complements your foot, is very natural. It allows your toes to work properly, allows your foot to strengthen and mobilize, and is probably the best blend of walking performance and health and golf swing performance. So the more you wear our shoes, the better your feet actually work, as opposed to being cramped and kind of crushing your toes, and hence why so many people get problems with with their feet over time. I went down that route and had to investigate to try and find a shoe that didn't hurt my feet after the round, and found True Linkswear 7 or 8 years ago, and it's been tremendous. I felt like I needed to share that story with people, so we've been growing in the last couple of years, and yeah, things are going really well. So I've been enjoying that side, trying to grow that as an ambassador and a partner in the UK.
Brilliant. Oh, it's great to hear. So we're looking very much forward to the Ryder Cup. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your background, what you're up to now, insight into the mindset of what it means to be a Ryder Cup player, to play golf at such a high level. I think my takeaway from this is just simply the fact that how you reframe things so well. Instead of being intimidated by the moment, embracing it and reframing it so that you can get on top of it and stand on it, as opposed to being overwhelmed by it. So if that's a little bit that I can take to my next, match that I have at the local club, playing for drinks after the round, then maybe that's it. But hey, for all of us, no matter where we play, there's always a way to improve.
It's just a matter of perspective, basically. Work on your game and just be positive and kind of reframe things as best you can. Give yourself the best chance, and sky's the limit, really.
We'll let you get on to that. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Jasper. Enjoyed it.